Hey guys, this is Jason, and today I am reviewing The Pale Blue Eye, directed by Scott Cooper, the director of Crazy Heart, Out of the Furnace, Black Mass, Hostiles, and most recently Antlers. It takes place in the 1800s, and it focuses on a veteran detective played by Christian Bale who investigates these murders that have been happening in New York City. And he gets the help from a young cadet played by Harry Meling, who is later known to be the famed author Edgar Allen Poe. I wanted to review this film just to let you guys know that I am still doing new movie reviews once a week. It's not always going to be a new top 10 video that I do every week, but I am still going to do that throughout this year with one I do have in mind that I am gonna be filming pretty soon. And I'll let you know more about that by the end of this video. And this film got released on Netflix in January, and releasing a movie in January is not a very good sign for the most part. And this movie I found to be, well, alright. I thought this movie was okay. Let me talk about the stuff that I liked first. First off, Christian Bale is excellent in this film. He is really good as this character without giving anything away, who has a very troubled past. He is an alcoholic, and you do start to feel sympathy for him once you learn a little bit more about his backstory. I also thought Harry Meling was also pretty good as Edgar Allan Poe. It's nice to see him in more stuff besides The Queen's Gambit and Dudley Dursley from the Harry Potter films, and I liked him in those films as well. And I thought both him and Christian Bale had really good chemistry together. And this is coming from someone who's not too familiar with Edgar Allan Poe as an author. I've never read any of his books. The only book that I've heard that he's made, even though I haven't read it, is his short story for The Raven. Everyone else in the acting does a really good job as well. They all looked like they were really trying because maybe they might have been invested by the script for this film. The cinematography is also one of the highlights of this film. It's a very well shot movie, especially with the nighttime scenes that do help heighten the tension of a situation that a character is in. In particular, there's this one scene where a character is walking down a road and someone is stalking him, and it does kind of build a little bit of paranoia of who this person is, and you start to feel a little bit of tension throughout this scene. And that's about where my positives end. For me, I thought this movie was kind of dull and boring at times, with a few twists and turns that I didn't see coming, but they're not always well executed, which I'll get into more of that later. The story is very hollow, and it focuses on other subplots that don't really relate to the main story. I mean, they do kind of help build a little bit of characters like Edgar Allan Poe, but they really don't match for the main story of the film. The pacing can drag, like it doesn't really have a moment that keeps the audience interested. It just focuses on other characters talking about who these people are and how they got murdered, instead of Bale and Edgar Allan Poe trying to investigate those murders and figure out who the killer is. Now, there are some movies like this that can work. It can have characters that talk about other things involving the murders and keep it interesting and have it feel investing for the main characters. And a good comparison to that is another murder mystery film that's similar to The Pale Blue Eye but takes it a much darker level, is Seven, directed by David Fincher. That movie is about Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman investigating the murders that relate to the seven deadly sins, and that movie had compelling characters and interesting subplots that do keep the audience interested and do connect to the main story. Now, The Pale Blue Eye tried to be interesting with certain subplots that you would think would relate to the main story and would make compelling characters, but the dialogue and the direction just didn't have any of that energy that keeps the audience interested or invested like Seven did. Now, without spoiling, let's briefly talk about this moment in the ending, because there is a twist in the film. I'm not going to say what this twist is, but what I will say is it did catch me off guard, but It's kind of a mixed bag for me. It does have an interesting and compelling reveal, but at the same time, it doesn't really make sense for the rest of the film. It kind of cheats because the movie throughout sets up certain scenes that are supposed to relate to who the killer is, and it doesn't always tie into the main twist for the film. The Pale Blue Eye isn't a terrible movie. It had some things that I liked, like the acting is really strong, the cinematography is well shot, and the atmosphere is very creepy for when the characters go outside at night. But the directing and the dialogue just didn't have any of that energy. The story wasn't always interesting, the subplots don't always tie into the main story, and the twists can at times cheat. If you want to watch an 1800s movie that involves a murder and you like seeing that kind of stuff happen and you don't mind the slow pacing at all, then I think you might enjoy this one. Especially if you're an Edgar Allen Poe fan and if you want to learn more about his brief backstory before he became a writer. But if you want to watch a murder mystery film with energy in the writing, compelling characters, and subplots that do tie into the main story, you're not going to get much of that. And to be honest, I really don't see myself watching this movie again. I'm going to give The Pale Blue Eye a C+. So guys, if you have seen The Pale Blue Eye, what did you think about it? Were you invested in the story or were you bored by it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, just to keep in mind, I am going to be doing some changes for my channel, not just for my background, but I am planning a couple of more top 10 videos in the future that I do want to talk about one of them pretty soon. I'm looking forward to doing that, but I'm not going to say what that is just yet. You're just going to have to wait and see what it is. But I am still going to do new movie reviews for my channel. That's still going to be my main thing. It's just that the top 10 stuff is going to be another thing for my channel so that it's not always new movie reviews. And maybe at some point in the future I could start reviewing some older films, mostly some of my favorites I do want to talk about. And in case if you're wondering, I am gonna review the Last of Us series, not just yet because we just had the first episode by the time I'm making this video. I'm gonna wait until the entire season is over and then I'll review it, so stay tuned for that when that happens. And as always, if you like this review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.